Melania Trump, a figure both admired and scrutinized, emerged from the picturesque town of Sevnica, Slovenia. Born on April 26, 1970, she was raised in a modest environment that instilled in her the virtues of hard work and ambition. Her early years were marked by a passion for fashion, leading her to pursue modeling, which opened doors to the vibrant world of international glamour and fame. After moving to the United States in the mid-1990s, Melania navigated the complexities of the modeling industry, eventually catching the eye of real estate mogul Donald Trump and New York Fashion Week party in 1998. Their whirlwind romance culminated in marriage in 2005, and soon thereafter, Melania was thrust into the spotlight as Donald Trump's wife. As they built their life together, she became an integral part of his brand, effortlessly blending into a lifestyle filled with opulence and public appearances. When Donald Trump announced his candidacy for president in 2015, Melania stood by his side, her poised demeanor and striking appearance making her a notable presence throughout the campaign. Upon entering the White House as First Lady in January 2017, Melania adopted her platform, focusing on children's well-being and anti-bullying initiatives. However, navigating the intense scrutiny that came with being First Lady proved challenging. Critics often dissected her every move and decision, especially regarding her role as a mother to their son Barron, born in 2006. Her parenting style was harshly critiqued in various media outlets and social circles, where feminist groups argued that Melania seemed to uphold outdated conventions of motherhood that they believed were detrimental to women's progress. Despite being painted with broad strokes by critics as aloof or out of touch, Melania took pride in her motherhood. She strongly believed in maintaining balance between being a traditional mother and fulfilling her duties as a public figure. While critics often presented her in a negative light, she remained steadfast in her commitment to parenting, a fact she expressed proudly during interviews and public engagements. As Melania settled into her role as First Lady, she faced pressures that transcended political expectations. They seeped into personal aspects of her life, bound by the delicate balance between maintaining her family's privacy and engaging with the public. She struggled against a barrage of opinions about how she should raise Barron. Yet through it all, she elegantly distanced herself from controversies while holding on to her belief in nurturing a supportive environment for her son. This moment would set the stage for a confrontation that would unfold unexpectedly during a public forum aimed at discussing women's roles today. Invited to speak at an event focused on modern motherhood, Melania found herself sharing the podium with feminists who had long targeted her family's values as emblematic of previous generations' priorities. Among them was a particularly vocal critic who challenged Melania's choices head-on. Armed with sharp rhetoric and an unwavering belief in their agenda, this feminist targeted Melania's motherhood with pointed questions. How can you support women's empowerment while embodying traditional motherhood? Doesn't your position hinder the progress we strive for? The audience gasped at the boldness of such a confrontation. While momentarily caught off guard by the intensity of the critique, Melania quickly regained her composure. Her experiences had taught her to navigate delicate conversations with grace. With poise often aimed at disarming critics, she fired back with a passionate defense of motherhood grounded in choice. Melania articulated her understanding of motherhood as not merely an obligation, but a profound privilege. Every woman has the right to choose her path, she asserted, emphasizing that her dedication to raising Barron was not a retreat from feminism, but rather an acknowledgement of varied routes women take throughout their lives. In that moment, she painted herself as an advocate for women who embrace traditional roles while simultaneously pursuing personal ambitions. However, her fierce defense did not come without internal reflections. As Melania walked off the stage following a mix of applause and uneasy murmurs from the crowd, doubts crept into her mind. Had she successfully articulated her stance? Did she risk alienating those who believed traditional roles hampered women's progress? Melania later pondered if perhaps confronting such critics publicly had been ill-advised. What was intended as an empowering declaration about motherhood evolved into complicated contemplations about what it means to champion women's independence while fulfilling societal expectations. In navigating this duality, she found herself questioning if her response had truly served its purpose or merely fueled further debate about women's choices in contemporary society. As the evening unfolded, one thing became clear. Melania's confrontation had stirred conversations well beyond that theater. A reminder that even prominent figures face vulnerabilities amid criticism and societal dialogue surrounding motherhood and feminism. That be why shedding light on Melania's multifaceted identity. The ambitious woman from Slovenia who embraced motherhood against a political backdrop. This episode revealed the layers at play within discussions on gender roles. In striving to advocate for herself and other mothers, she unintentionally opened doors to greater scrutiny not just of her actions, but also of the societal narratives surrounding women's empowerment today. Thus began a journey to reconcile her public persona with personal convictions and aspirations within an ever-evolving dialogue about motherhood's place within feminism. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation as attendees settled into their seats, an eclectic mix of women from different walks of life, all gathered for a highly publicized event titled Women in Leadership, Navigating Modern Motherhood. Banners hung overhead, proclaiming messages of empowerment and solidarity. For Melania Trump, the First Lady and former model, this was more than just another speaking engagement. It was an opportunity to share her story as a mother in the public, while navigating the tumultuous waters of modern feminism. She took to the stage, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit that exuded both elegance and authority. Melania was met with applause. She smiled warmly at the audience, her presence commanding attention. Her opening remarks reflected on her journey, how she balanced her roles as a wife, mother to Baron, and a public figure. With sincerity in her voice, she spoke about the values she instilled in her son and how those values shaped her views on motherhood. However, as she began to delve into her experiences of parenting amid public scrutiny, the atmosphere shifted. The energy in the room crackled with tension when a young feminist activist rose from her seat with determination. Etched across her face, she confronted Melania directly. Your narrative celebrates traditional motherhood at a time when many of us believe that such roles restrict women's progress, she challenged. How do you reconcile that? Can you truly advocate for women when you embody these outdated ideals? The directness of the question hung in the air like a sudden storm cloud, casting a shadow over Melania's otherwise polished presentation. Gasps rippled through the audience. Many were captivated by the unexpected turn of events. Melania felt a familiar pang of vulnerability, but also recognized this was an opportunity to engage thoughtfully rather than retreat defensively. Taking a moment to gather herself, Melania responded with composure. Every woman has the right to define what empowerment means. For herself, she replied firmly. For me, motherhood is not just an obligation but a choice, a privilege I cherish deeply. As she emphasized her belief in individual choices regarding family dynamics and career aspirations, some audience members nodded appreciatively, while others remained skeptical, challenging their preconceived notions about what empowerment truly meant. As the dialogue continued, additional questions surfaced, each probing deeper into Melania's commitment to feminism amidst accusations that her role perpetuated stereotypes about women's responsibilities at home. One audience member pressed further. What do you say to those who argue that your lifestyle represents privilege rather than reality for most women trying to break glass ceilings? Melania maintained her poise even amidst rising tensions within this conversation fraught with conflicting ideologies surrounding motherhood and feminism today. The complexities inherent within them woven into societal perceptions of power dynamics persisted throughout. Each exchange bravely navigated back and forth across differing perspectives, illuminating myriad challenges present faced onward ahead toward clarity sought amidst tumultuous discussions unfolding visibly around them all. struggling internally against waves of self-doubt stirred by civil discourse around expectations versus personal agency, layered within voices clamoring for change, mingling uncomfortably close together undeterred, yet willing push boundaries back, although lingering questions reminded endlessly should remain focused upon broader narratives involving women leading varied lives, boldly rejecting confines imposed upon them, seeking liberation. Together hearts, joined instead, strengthened willfully. Rewriting futures awaiting, sculpted forward, telling beautifully intricate stories still emerging. While part of Melania wished to convey unity over division, defining more equitable paths forward, emerged fiercely from passionate conversations, swirling around invigorating potentials waiting discovered anew beyond barriers alongside unique explorations awaiting journeys ahead, shared richly interwoven beyond familiar limits, urging them boldly, evermore breaking ground together, lifting each other. Elevated gently toward brighter horizons beckoning across time, embraced, eternally collective spirit, thriving harmoniously, blossoming untold realms, envisioned warm embrace, enlightening complexity, resonating powerfully throughout society, nourishing collectively bound lessons learned, revisited, enriched ongoing dialogues, inspiring engagement, deeper collaboration, aspiring triumphant outcomes, nurtured, courageously borne forward. Enduring newly unified sentiments, arising hopeful, returning reflections. Created lasting impact, illuminated beautifully, awaiting flourishing destinies, unfolding, soon welcoming discoveries, cherished, deeply rooted together, shining brightly along roads awaited, arriving cohesively onward, lovingly sharing dreams, igniting potentiality, aflame, soaring brilliantly against dark skies, painted inspiring visions treasured across canvases, eternally inviting delight beyond surfaces, recognizing profound potential fulfilled, reaching endlessly forward, embracing every heartbeat. As the evening progressed, filled vivid moments echoed, sustainable passions cultivated, tenderly forging bonds, tirelessly striving sought balance, celebrating diverse perspectives, rich gatherings, shared every voice honored, cherished, weaving future tapestries, destined, intricately flourish, adorned, offered beauty, gracefully embraced echoes, resounding, compassionately swaying rhythms, encouraged unity, awakened, deeply touched, progressively lingering heartstrings, casting dynamic influences, beckoning bright. Tomorrow's dawn thus emerged, not solely mere reflections, shared among them, swirling energies infused, strong, contrasting dialogues explored, harmonizing affirmations, discovering deeper meanings kindled, nurturing transformative essence, cultivated exhilaratingly, propelling conversations, enlivened, raising high spirits, intertwined, gently forging paths, anticipated, illuminating beautiful exchanges woven together, guiding hearts toward richer lives, illuminated memories, painting their irreplaceable legacies, boldly shaping destinies forever beyond envisioned limits, continually flowering onward, infinitely radiant. As the tension in the auditorium mounted, Sarah, the feminist activist, prepared to present her primary arguments against Melania Trump's views on motherhood. She stood confidently before the audience, ready to challenge what she perceived as complicity in traditional gender roles. Melania, she began, her voice assertive but calm. The image you project as First Lady seems to celebrate a narrow definition of motherhood that many women today find restrictive in a time when women are breaking barriers in every field. Your narrative often feels like a throwback to an era when women's primary value was tied solely to their roles as wives and mothers. This was the crux of Sarah's argument, that Melania's portrayal of motherhood risked perpetuating outdated stereotypes, suggesting that fulfillment could only come from traditional family roles. When prominent figures like you reinforce these ideals, Sarah continued, it sends a message that those who choose alternative paths, whether it be pursuing a career or choosing not to become mothers, are somehow less valuable. Sarah drew from her own experiences and those of countless women in the audience struggling against societal expectations. She noted how many women feel pressured to conform to traditional norms of motherhood while trying to establish their identities in professional spaces. As someone with significant influence, she pressed, "How do you reconcile this with the realities most women face today? Your choices resonate widely. Can you really advocate for empowerment while embodying these antiquated ideals?" The room grew silent as Sarah's challenge sunk in, demanding Melania's attention and urging reflection. To many listening, it felt like a pivotal moment, not just for Melania, but for the broader conversation about women's roles today. "Your position isn't merely personal," Sarah asserted. "It carries weight and impacts how millions perceive what it means to be a woman in today's world." Additionally, Sarah brought forth questions surrounding privilege. "You live in an elite world of luxury," she said pointedly. "How can your experience truly represent the vast majority of women? For many who face economic hardship or societal barriers, seeing someone like you celebrate traditional motherhood can feel alienating rather than empowering." She posited that Melania's lifestyle might inadvertently endorse a narrative that diminishes the struggles faced by working mothers striving for recognition and equality. Intriguingly, Sarah also touched upon perceptions surrounding modern feminism itself. "Modern feminists advocate for choice," she stated firmly. "Yet we're also fighting against stereotypes that limit our potential. Why continuously upholding traditional roles? You might be sidelining voices advocating for broader definitions of womanhood, ones that embrace individuality alongside motherhood." Sarah's critiques were not simply aimed at Melania, but rather at what her representation symbolized within societal discussions about gender equality. The implications were clear. Celebrating motherhood was essential, but lifting up diverse experiences contributed significantly to meaningful progress toward equality. With each point made, Melania could feel the eyes in the room shifting between her and Sarah. On one hand, there was support for Melania's stance on choice. On the other hand, there was an urgent call for adaptability. The idea that empowerment should encompass various definitions rather than clinging rigidly to tradition. Recognizing that this exchange represented deeply entrenched societal issues, Melania grappled with how best to respond without alienating those who stood firmly behind progressive values, while staying true to her own beliefs about motherhood as a cherished role. She felt her heart racing as she contemplated whether her response might further fuel partisanship or foster fruitful dialogue. "Every woman should have autonomy over her choices," Melania eventually replied thoughtfully. "I believe strongly that being a mother is an incredible choice, and it empowers me profoundly. However, I also understand that every woman's path is unique." Melania's attempt to bridge the gap between personal truth and broader movement was met with mixed reactions. Some audience members nodded in agreement, while others remained skeptical. The complexity surrounding her position became more apparent as differing ideologies collided openly within an arena set for discourse. Yet Sarah wasn't finished. She pressed on with another poignant question. "But do you believe your example is supportive of those who are seeking equity in their workplaces? When so, many struggle against systemic barriers creating inequalities. Doesn't your position risk sending mixed messages?" In this rich dialogue where traditional notions intertwined with contemporary sensibilities, both women found themselves reflecting on vital lessons learned from confronting challenging discussions head-on, not merely defining who they were, but demonstrating the complexities existing within feminism itself. Through this exchange filled with thought-provoking nuances illustrated throughout powerful rhetoric shared wide, it was no longer merely about defending motherhood versus modern feminist thought, but rather embracing an evolving narrative allowing diverse perspectives flourish, illuminating spaces needed filled, fostering connections, deepening understandings forged through journeys embarked together. In acknowledging these contrasts presented across time, nurtured aspirations, long harbored, boldly journeyed toward, all seeking unity among struggles faced, transforming landscapes, promising brighter futures, emerging harmoniously beyond boundaries previously confined, as stories retold. intertwined, creating ripples, inspiring hearts, spanning timeless realms, deeper reflections realized immensely. All compelling, every voice heard, traversing boundaries, beckoning brighter horizons equitably. As Sarah's critique hung heavily in the air, Melania Trump felt a surge of emotions, surprise, defensiveness, and a resolute determination to articulate her perspective. The spotlight was now on her, and she knew that how she responded could influence not just the moment, but also the broader conversation regarding motherhood and women's empowerment. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Melania straightened her posture, allowing her innate poise to shine through. "Thank you for your perspective," she began, her voice steady and clear. "But I must respectfully disagree with some of your assertions." The audience leaned in, curious to hear how the First Lady would navigate this complex dialogue. Melania continued, "I believe being a mother is one of the most important roles a woman can take on. It is a choice that empowers me deeply. Every woman has her own path, and for me, that path has always included motherhood." Her conviction resonated with many in the room who appreciated the sincerity behind her words. She emphasized that motherhood should not be viewed as merely a traditional role or an obligation, but rather as a profound privilege that can coexist with professional aspirations. "Motherhood has taught me invaluable lessons about love, responsibility, and nurturing," Melania explained, her expression softening as she spoke about her son Baron. "Every day, I strive to instill in him values that will help him grow into a compassionate and strong individual." As she shared these personal anecdotes, the audience could sense the genuine pride she felt. This was clearly an area where she found fulfillment and purpose. Yet Melania was acutely aware of the criticisms regarding her privileged lifestyle. Acknowledging Sarah's points about privilege gracefully, she added, "I understand that my experiences as First Lady come from a place of privilege. However, I believe it is essential to recognize that empowerment can take many forms." She reiterated that celebrating motherhood does not diminish other women's choices, but highlights the importance of personal agency in defining success. In addressing the specific concerns about representation, Melania stated, "It's crucial to support women in all their diverse roles, whether they are mothers balancing careers or those who choose not to have children at all. Each woman's journey is unique." Her tone softened as she emphasized solidarity among women, encouraging a more inclusive narrative rather than one that pitted them against each other. Melania seized this moment to advocate for understanding across different perspectives. "We must uplift each other by recognizing the strength it takes to pursue our individual paths," she urged. True empowerment means allowing women to choose what fulfills them without judgment or comparison. Her words carried a powerful message aimed at bridging gaps between various ideologies surrounding feminism and motherhood. As she spoke, Melania maintained unwavering eye contact with Sarah and the audience, demonstrating confidence in her stance while conveying empathy for those who might feel marginalized by traditional narratives. Her ability to articulate her beliefs without dismissing others' experiences showcased both her poise and depth of character. However, she understood that this nuanced conversation had stirred mixed reactions among attendees. Some nodded in agreement with her views on motherhood's significance, while others remained skeptical about whether her example truly aligned with modern feminist ideals. Melania was conscious that navigating this discourse required finesse, not just to defend herself, but to foster constructive dialogue. Taking a moment before continuing, Melania reflected on how these discussions could ultimately lead to greater understanding among women from all walks of life. As we embrace our choices, let's also create spaces where every woman feels valued for who she is, she concluded passionately. Empowerment comes from supporting each other in our journeys, whatever those may look like. The applause that followed her remarks was tempered by murmurs of contemplation throughout the auditorium. Some were inspired by her words, while others were still grappling with conflicting expectations surrounding femininity today. Recognizing this was part of an ongoing conversation rather than a definitive resolution gave Melania a hope that progress could emerge from such exchanges. In this moment, she realized the importance of remaining open-minded amid challenging dialogues. While she stood Firm in her beliefs surrounding motherhood's value, it became clear that true empowerment involved listening, an essential component for forging connections across differing perspectives. Melania took a deep breath and stepped back from the podium after sharing her thoughts. She felt both vulnerable and empowered, a balance representative of every woman striving for recognition amid societal expectations. This exchange had offered layers of understanding within complex narratives surrounding motherhood and feminism alike. It reflected not only who she was, but also illuminated paths leading toward shared goals forged together in unity. Ultimately, while Melania had faced pointed critiques regarding her choices as a mother, the opportunity afforded through this dialogue allowed both her and Sarah to explore essential themes surrounding women's roles today, a reminder that even amid disagreements lay possibilities for growth and transformation toward a more inclusive future awaiting all women together. As the discussion unfolded, Melania Trump seized the opportunity to articulate several key arguments in defense of her choices as a mother, while addressing the concerns raised by feminist activist Sarah. With a focus on her dedication to raising Barron, her only son, Melania sought to emphasize the values she believed were crucial for nurturing a well-rounded individual. First and foremost, I want to express how deeply I cherish my role as a mother, Melania began, her voice steady and sincere. Raising Barron is not just a responsibility. It's a privilege that shapes my identity and purpose. She shared candidly how motherhood had taught her valuable lessons about love, resilience, and nurturing, qualities she believed were essential for any child's development. Melania recounted specific moments spent with Barron that illustrated her commitment as a parent. Every day, I strive to instill in him values such as compassion, kindness, and the importance of hard work, she explained. Her eyes softened as she spoke about their time together, whether it was reading books before bed or attending school events. Each experience reinforcing her dedication to being present in his life despite the demands of her public role. Acknowledging the criticism regarding her privileged lifestyle, Melania responded thoughtfully. I understand that my experiences come from a place of privilege, she admitted. However, I believe that this privilege also allows me to create opportunities for my son that many other mothers may not have. Her focus shifted from defending herself to highlighting how her position could be leveraged to advocate for children's welfare more broadly. Being First Lady means I have a platform to speak on issues affecting children and families, Melania stated firmly. She mentioned initiatives she had pursued during her time in the White House, including her Be Best campaign aimed at promoting children's well-being and combating cyberbullying. I want to use my voice to support all children, she emphasized, illustrating how her role could transcend personal privilege into meaningful advocacy. Melania further articulated her belief in balancing personal values with public expectations. It can be challenging to navigate personal beliefs while also fulfilling public duties, she noted. But I have always tried to remain true to my values and what I believe is best for my family. This assertion encapsulated the internal struggle many women face when balancing career aspirations with familial responsibilities. Melania's reflections resonated with those who understood the complexities of managing multiple roles. She continued by addressing the broader implications of defining empowerment based solely on traditional roles. Empowerment is not one size fits all, Melania argued passionately. It must encompass the choices women make in their lives, whether they choose motherhood or pursue careers outside the home, or both. By emphasizing this diversity of paths, Melania sought to foster an inclusive narrative rather than one that pitted women against each other based on their choices. In response to Sarah's earlier critiques about representation, Melania acknowledged that while she embodies certain privileges, it is vital for women everywhere to have their voices heard and celebrated. We need to uplift each other across different experiences, she stated emphatically. True empowerment means creating an environment where every woman feels valued for who she is and what she brings to this world. At this moment, Melania felt a shift in the audience's energy. Some nods turned into applause as listeners began to appreciate her willingness to engage openly in dialogue while standing firm in her beliefs that it became clear that many found resonance in her message of solidarity among women, even if some still grappled with their perceptions of privilege. Before concluding her remarks, Melania took a deep breath and emphasized that conversations like these were necessary for progress. We must continue these dialogues openly and honestly, she urged the audience. By sharing our experiences and listening to one another, we can create an understanding that fosters growth and unity rather than division. Her words resonated with many who recognized that navigating societal expectations required ongoing discourse filled with empathy and respect. As Melania stepped back from the podium after sharing these heartfelt thoughts, she felt both vulnerable and empowered, a reflection of every woman striving for recognition amid societal pressures. This exchange represented more than just a debate about motherhood. It illuminated paths leading towards shared goals forged together in unity, articulating her arguments with clarity and conviction. Melania sought not only to defend herself, but also inspire others around her, to remind them that empowerment comes from embracing diverse narratives surrounding womanhood while fostering connections across differing perspectives. Ultimately, through this momentous dialogue filled with nuanced reflections on motherhood's role within contemporary society, Melania demonstrated an unwavering commitment to advocating for women everywhere, while reaffirming her dedication as a mother shaped by profound love, intertwining aspirations nurtured along pathways illuminated brightly ahead. As Melania Trump stepped away from the podium, the atmosphere in the auditorium buzzed with a mixture of excitement and contemplation. The exchange had ignited a lively discussion among attendees, who were eager to dissect the dialogue that had just unfolded. Some audience members applauded Melania's articulate defense of her motherhood choices, viewing her as a strong advocate for women embracing diverse paths. Others, however, remained skeptical, feeling that her privileged background made it difficult for her to fully grasp the struggles faced by everyday women. In the immediate aftermath, reactions poured in from various corners. Many attendees expressed their admiration for Melania's poise and conviction during the tense exchange. Social media erupted with hashtags like #MelaniaSpeaks and #MotherhoodMatters, with supporters praising her commitment to family values and her perspective on empowerment. Posts highlighted quotes from her speech where she emphasized that every woman has the right to choose what fulfills them without judgment. Conversely, critics on social media voiced their concerns about Melania's perceived disconnect from the realities faced by many women today. Articles appeared in major publications analyzing her remarks, with some commentators arguing that while she presented a compelling vision of motherhood, it failed to address systemic issues affecting women trying to balance work and family life. Her privilege shields her from understanding the struggles that most mothers face, one article stated bluntly, sparking further debate among readers. Television networks quickly picked up on the story as well, inviting feminist commentators to discuss the implications of Melania's statements on various news segments. Opinions varied widely. Some praised her efforts to advocate for women's choices, while others condemned her as out of touch with modern feminist ideals. Panelists debated whether her emphasis on motherhood reflected a misunderstanding of contemporary issues, or served as a potential rallying cry for women seeking validation in traditional roles. In light of these discussions, online forums became hotspots for passionate exchanges regarding feminism and motherhood. Supporters hailed Melania as a voice for stay-at-home mothers who feel overlooked in conversations dominated by career-driven narratives. They argued that there is dignity in choosing traditional roles, and that such choices should be celebrated rather than criticized. On the other side of the debate, activists reiterated Sarah's point from the forum, voicing concerns over how Melania's narrative might perpetuate stereotypes limiting women's ambitions beyond domesticity. We need leaders who understand our struggles, not just those who embody privilege, one user tweeted with fervor. The ongoing discourse reflected broader societal tensions surrounding gender roles and expectations. As days turned into weeks following the event, Melania found herself grappling with mixed emotions about how she had navigated that pivotal moment. While she felt proud of defending her beliefs and sharing personal anecdotes about motherhood. She also recognized that this conversation was far from settled. It became clear to her that despite any initial connections made during the forum, complexities surrounding motherhood would continue to spark heated debates within feminist circles. A week later, during an interview with a lifestyle magazine aimed at working mothers, Melania took another opportunity to reiterate key points from her speech while acknowledging feedback received since then. "I believe strongly in supporting all women," she stated earnestly. "My comments are not meant to dismiss anyone's journey, but rather to affirm my own path while encouraging others to embrace theirs." This acknowledgement helped soften some criticism directed toward her earlier remarks. Media coverage continued to evolve around this theme as commentators noted a growing trend toward inclusive conversations about what it means to be a woman today, whether through traditional pathways or otherwise. In recognizing differing perspectives sparked by this dialogue surrounding empowerment alongside personal experiences shared openly across platforms, it became increasingly apparent how impactful engagement could lead toward collective understanding beyond previously established divides once firmly entrenched within societal narratives. Gradually evolving discussions kept momentum alive long after initial controversies died down. They cultivated an ongoing movement committed toward creating supportive spaces where women's choices could be celebrated without prejudice. A sentiment echoed across countless forums, bridging generational gaps, resonating deeply throughout communities everywhere. Ultimately, this experience proved transformative, not merely reflecting individual journeys traveled independently, but forging connections vital towards realizing collective aspirations illuminated brightly ahead together. Through respectability cultivated amidst challenging dialogues, shared intimately in navigating socially complex landscapes gracefully, Melania emerged ready, not only championing motherhood, but fostering unity among women, striving together towards brighter futures rife with possibilities awaiting exploration, collectively intertwined, beautifully bound deeply across every heart, beating vibrantly alive. After stepping down from the podium and exiting the auditorium, Melania Trump found herself alone in the quiet of her private quarters, a stark contrast to the charged atmosphere she had just left. The cacophony of applause and mixed reactions echoed in her mind as she sat down, allowing herself a moment of reflection. While she had felt a surge of empowerment while defending her choices, a nagging sense of doubt began to creep in. Had she truly articulated her beliefs effectively, or had she merely reinforced the very stereotypes she sought to challenge? The questions swirled in her thoughts like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. She replayed Sarah's critique, sharp and pointed, over and over, examining it from every angle. Did her response resonate with the audience? Or had it created a deeper rift between herself and those advocating for modern feminism? Melania recalled the expressions on the faces of the women in attendance. Some were nodding in agreement with her defense of motherhood as an empowering choice, while others appeared skeptical, perhaps even frustrated. The conflicting messages she received made her question the overall impact of her words. Was she truly representing women's diverse experiences? Or was she just affirming a traditional viewpoint that might not align with many contemporary narratives about womanhood? She sighed heavily, contemplating her privileged lifestyle. Melania was well aware that her position as First Lady came with unique advantages and disadvantages. Could she genuinely relate to the everyday struggles faced by working mothers balancing careers and family demands? Was her narrative unintentionally dismissive of those challenges? These reflections weighed heavily on her conscience. In the days following the forum, Melania observed how media outlets dissected her remarks. Articles appeared, scrutinizing not only what she said, but also what it implied about women's roles in society. Some commentators praised her for standing firm in her beliefs and advocating for traditional motherhood. Others criticized her for not addressing systemic barriers affecting women today. Their differing perspectives left her feeling unsettled, caught between admiration for speaking out and fear that she may have inadvertently broadened gaps within feminist discussions. Scrolling through social media later that evening brought mixed emotions. Supporters had rallied behind her, sharing quotes from her speech that emphasized choice and empowerment, while critics articulated valid concerns about how someone in her position could fully grasp the nuances faced by marginalized women. The online discourse mirrored the tumultuous feelings stirring within her, validation intertwined with doubt. Was it possible to champion one's choices while also acknowledging that not all women enjoyed similar freedoms? Melania pondered whether true empowerment could coexist with privilege, or if it was essential to step back occasionally to listen more empathetically to varied experiences outside of her own. She sensed the need for dialogue, a collective understanding rather than just personal assertions about what empowerment should look like. As days passed and conversations continued around the forum's events, Melania consciously made an effort to address these reflections internally. She contemplated how she might incorporate this newfound depth into future discussions on women's issues, not to dilute her voice, but to enhance it. The notion of solidarity among women resonated deeply. After all, elevating one another's voices could create a more expansive narrative around empowerment. During a follow-up interview aimed at discussing women's leadership, Melania took the opportunity to acknowledge feedback from both supporters and critics alike. "I've spent time reflecting on my role as both a first lady and a mother," she remarked thoughtfully during the session. "I believe my path is valid, but I understand that true empowerment encompasses recognizing diverse experiences beyond my own." This statement felt significant to her. An acknowledgement that included varied perspectives would only strengthen conversations surrounding womanhood. As she continued reflecting on this transformative experience, Melania resolved to advocate not just for traditional mothering ideals, but also for broader conversations about what it means to be a woman today. Navigating these complexities required not only standing firmly by one's beliefs, but also remaining open-minded enough to include voices traditionally overlooked. Coming from privilege did not negate responsibility, rather amplified the importance of using that platform wisely. Ultimately, while Melania Trump's initial reaction to feminist critiques sparked tension at the forum, it also ignited an internal dialogue that pushed her toward greater understanding of feminism's intricacies. This journey would require ongoing reflection and adaptability as she forged ahead, striving to find balance between asserting personal values, while also uplifting those whose experiences differed from her own in an ever-evolving landscape of womanhood ready for exploration together. In the wake of Melania Trump's recent public forum, the incident marked a significant turning point in her relationship with both her supporters and critics, particularly within feminist circles. As discussions around her remarks continued to unfold, it became increasingly clear that public perception of the First Lady was beginning to shift, influenced by the complexity of her statements and the reactions they elicited. Initially, many saw Melania as a champion for traditional motherhood, a role that resonated with conservative audiences and those who advocated for family values. Her poise during the confrontation with feminist activist Sarah garnered admiration from supporters who praised her for standing firm in her beliefs. Social media buzzed with supportive hashtags like #MelaniaSpeaks, reflecting a wave of enthusiasm among those who identified with her views on motherhood as an empowering choice. However, this initial support was tempered by an undercurrent of skepticism. Critics pointed out that Melania's position, her privilege, and lifestyle made it difficult for her to fully grasp the realities faced by women navigating modern challenges. This critique presented an opportunity for feminist groups to reevaluate their perceptions of her as a public figure. Many began to question whether she could genuinely align herself with contemporary feminist movements when her life experiences were so markedly different from those of average women struggling to balance work and family. Media outlets dissected her comments. They highlighted how this incident had opened up a dialogue on the complexities within feminism itself. Articles began appearing that framed Melania not just as a passive participant, but rather as an influential voice in ongoing gender discussions, a role she had not always actively sought, but now found herself inhabiting more prominently. The fact that she acknowledged differing experiences and expressed intentions to support all women's choices added layers to her image that were previously overlooked. Yet the incident did not come without consequences. While some factions rallied behind Melania as someone who understood traditional values, others felt that she had only reinforced outdated stereotypes about mothers staying at home while neglecting systemic barriers preventing women from achieving equality in various fields. This division illustrated how polarized opinions could be regarding motherhood, where some viewed it as a noble pursuit worthy of celebration. Others urged for recognition of broader opportunities beyond domesticity. That Melania's comments sparked deeper conversations within feminist circles about what empowerment should entail. For many activists, this meant ensuring that narratives surrounding womanhood included diverse experiences, something they felt Melania's privileged background might unintentionally obscure. The tension between honoring traditional roles and advocating for modern empowerment became central to dialogues around feminism moving forward. In private reflections following the forum, Melania considered these conversations carefully. She realized that genuine advocacy required listening empathetically and acknowledging different paths women take in their lives. The complexity surrounding these issues compelled her to think critically about how she could navigate these waters while still remaining true to herself. A balancing act requiring sensitivity without losing one's voice. As discussions continued across various platforms post-forum, Melania recognized an evolving opportunity for herself, leveraging her position not just to advocate for traditional motherhood, but also to broaden definitions of empowerment through dialogue with those whose experiences differed from hers. She understood that fostering connections with feminist groups would require thoughtful engagement rather than mere defense against criticism. The lasting impact of this incident began shaping how Melania approached future engagements concerning women's issues. She aimed to be more inclusive in her messaging while maintaining the core values she believed in deeply. Her reflections indicated a willingness to evolve alongside societal expectations without compromising personal convictions, a nuanced stance increasingly necessary in today's political climate. By embracing these complexities publicly and showing readiness to engage thoughtfully with supporters and critics alike, Melania's public image began transforming into one characterized not only by traditional values, but also by emerging understanding toward broader perspectives on womanhood itself. A pivot that held promise for deeper connections moving forward amid evolving narratives defined beautifully together. This shift created fertile ground for ongoing dialogue around women's roles today, one where solidarity between differing viewpoints could flourish amid shared aspirations toward meaningful progress, illuminating brighter futures ahead. Ultimately, even amid tensions surrounding evolving perceptions about womanhood experienced collectively, Melania emerged poised, ready to foster unity, embracing multiple narratives, contributing beautifully, enriching tapestries, defining lives experienced vibrantly. The exchange of the public forum not only stirred conversations around Melania Trump's views on motherhood, but also highlighted broader implications for contemporary feminism. This incident revealed the complexities and multifaceted nature of how motherhood, choice, and individual agency are perceived within the feminist discourse today. In her defense, Melania emphasized that motherhood was a personal choice and a privilege. This view resonated with many who believe that women should have the autonomy to define their paths, whether that involves embracing traditional roles or pursuing careers outside the home. Her remarks fed into a narrative that champions individual agency, the idea that every woman should be free to pursue what fulfills her without outside judgment. However, this perspective also sparked significant debate about what empowerment truly means in a society where women's choices are often influenced by systemic barriers. Feminist critics like Sarah pointed out that while Melania's assertion about choice is valid, it may inadvertently overlook the realities many women face. The critique highlighted an essential tension within feminism. Can one genuinely advocate for empowerment while coming from a place of privilege? Sarah's challenge questioned whether Melania's portrayal of motherhood as solely empowering was too simplistic when juxtaposed against the complexities of race, class, and socioeconomic status that affect women's lives differently. The AS conversations progressed in various forums, both online and offline. It became clear that contemporary feminism is grappling with how to include diverse narratives surrounding motherhood. The discussions prompted by Melania's remarks illuminated how essential it is to recognize that empowerment cannot be universally defined. It encompasses a spectrum of choices available to women across different backgrounds. For some, empowerment means embracing domesticity and motherhood as a source of strength, while for others, it might mean pursuing career ambitions or advocating for social justice. This incident raised critical questions about representation in feminist dialogues. Many activists argued that recognizing diverse experiences is crucial to fostering a more inclusive movement. The notion that certain narratives overshadow others leads to feelings of alienation among women whose situations do not fit neatly into traditional categories. Thus, how can feminism evolve to embrace these varied experiences while still respecting individual choices? Melania's reflection on her role as First Lady also speaks volumes about the shifting landscape of feminism today. That be why, acknowledging her privileged lifestyle while advocating for children's welfare, she positioned herself as someone who could bridge gaps, someone willing to engage in dialogues that honor both traditional values and modern aspirations. Yet this balancing act requires sensitivity and a commitment to understanding the nuances inherent in women's experiences. As feminist groups reconsider their approach following Melania's comments, they must navigate the delicate balance of celebrating motherhood without diminishing other women's journeys. Integrative discussions about empowerment involve listening to stories that deviate from mainstream narratives. Doing so encourages solidarity among women rather than division based on differing choices. Moving forward, women's empowerment must be framed in a way that honors all narratives surrounding motherhood and career aspirations equally. This includes acknowledging systemic issues while simultaneously affirming the value of personal choice, an approach that Melania herself might strive for in her future advocacy efforts. The dialogue sparked by this incident has the potential to reshape understandings of femininity in contemporary society. IT underscores the importance of creating spaces where women can share their stories freely without fear of judgment or exclusion from broader movements advocating for equality. Through such exchanges, feminists can work towards cohesive unity grounded in respect for diverse experiences. In essence, this situation reveals that contemporary feminism is at a pivotal juncture, a time when it can either choose to narrow its focus or expand its reach to encompass varying definitions of womanhood and empowerment. AS discussions continue to unfold around Melania Trump's remarks. They present an opportunity for growth within feminist circles. They challenge adherents to consider how their narratives intersect with those of others, striving for recognition amid societal expectations. Ultimately, the reflections stemming from this incident hint at a future where feminism becomes increasingly inclusive, one where unity among women is prioritized over divisiveness based on different choices regarding motherhood and individual agency. Why fostering connections and amplifying diverse voices, contemporary feminism can thrive amid complexities while illuminating pathways toward understanding, acceptance, and collective progress. In concluding the reflections on Melania Trump's experience at the public forum, it becomes clear that her situation underscores several key lessons about the intersections of motherhood, privilege, and contemporary feminism. As Melania navigated a challenging dialogue, she demonstrated both the triumphs and complexities of being a mother in the public, while also revealing the ongoing debates within feminist discourse. One major takeaway from this incident is the importance of recognizing the multifaceted nature of motherhood. For Melania, embracing her role as a mother was not only a personal choice, but also a defining aspect of her identity. This perspective resonates with many women who view motherhood as both empowering and fulfilling. However, Melania's assertion that motherhood is solely an empowering choice raises critical questions about how such narratives can overlook systemic barriers that hinder women's choices. The tension between traditional motherhood and modern feminist ideals became a focal point of discussion during and after the forum. Melania's defense of her choices highlighted how some women find strength in traditional roles, celebrating motherhood and domesticity as valid paths. Yet, this perspective also sparked apprehension among critics who argue that championing traditional roles may unintentionally undermine efforts to promote broader definitions of empowerment for all women. Acknowledging diverse experiences within motherhood and breaking free from rigid narratives is essential for advancing conversations surrounding women's rights today. Another significant lesson pertains to privilege and its complexities in feminist dialogues. While Melania successfully advocated for her path as a mother, many observers were quick to point out how her privileged background created a disconnect with everyday women facing economic strife or societal pressures. The critiques raised by feminist activists remind us that individual experiences are inherently shaped by context. Thus, empathy and understanding are critical when discussing empowerment. Melania's reflections indicate an emerging awareness that true advocacy involves acknowledging not just one's own narrative, but recognizing those who may not share similar privileges. Furthermore, this incident emphasizes the need for inclusivity within feminist movements. The varied responses to Melania's presentation reveal just how polarized opinions can be regarding motherhood and women's agency. Some celebrate traditional pathways, while others demand recognition of diverse lived experiences beyond them. Engaging in meaningful dialogue that encompasses all perspectives allows for greater solidarity among women rather than division based on different choices. Melania's experience also highlights that vulnerability can be an important part of advocacy. Stepping into the public realm as a figure scrutinized for both her actions and words exposes individuals like Melania to significant pressure. Her moments of self-doubt following the confrontation reflect a universal experience among women who seek validation amid societal expectations. Questioning if their voices resonate or contribute positively to larger conversations, as discussions continue surrounding this incident, it becomes clear that contemporary feminism stands at a crossroads, poised to either narrow its focus or broaden its embrace to include various narratives surrounding womanhood. This experience can serve as an impetus for growth within feminist circles, urging them to consider how their advocacy intersects with diverse stories while fostering an environment built on shared aspirations. Ultimately, Melania Trump's encounter at the forum presents an opportunity for deeper reflections on what it means to empower women in today's society. It compels advocates across all spectrums to recognize that empowerment cannot be defined uniformly. Rather, it must honor each woman's unique journey, including those who choose traditional roles alongside those who forge different pathways. In summary, the lessons drawn from this experience resonate well beyond Melania's individual journey. They touch upon fundamental elements encompassing the essence of contemporary feminism itself: inclusivity, recognition of privilege, empathy, vulnerability, and celebrating diverse narratives shaping womanhood today. Fostering connections among women united in their aspirations while respecting varying perspectives, feminism can cultivate an atmosphere conducive to progress and understanding, ultimately illuminating pathways toward collective advancement for all women.